Hey everyone. So I'm sure most of you have seen this, but Google came out today with Gemma 3. Gemma is a open weight series of models from Google, and as you can see from this picture that they released in the blog post, it is performing better than much larger models. But we all know that when LLM provider release their scores, it's always prudent to take it with a grain of salt because they always obfuscate the details. So in today's video, we're going to go into some of the regular benchmarks that we've developed and compare how Gemma 3 performs against Gemma 2 and even GPT-4o Mini. In a nutshell, Gemma 3 is a very good model. It has outperformed Gemma 2 in every single test that we did, and it even outperformed 4o Mini in some of these tests. It's truly amazing to be alive in a time when open weight models perform at the same or better levels as some of the most advanced frontier models. I remember back in the day when I was testing the original version of Llama and nothing even came close to GPT 3.5, even let alone GPT-4. How far have you come? So before I get into the details of the test, I wanted to summarize for those of you who have already seen the tests in different videos, the high-level results, so that you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. I mean, I would love if you did watch the whole thing, but if you want to get to the good stuff, so here it is. So as you can see from the harmful question detector test, which is a simple classification test, Gemma 3 outperforms both Gemma 4o Mini and Gemma 2. For the named entity recognition test, Gemma 3 makes the same mistakes that Gemma 2 did, and they both lag behind 4o Mini. Stick around towards the end of the video because I'm going to go into the actual mistakes that these models are making. For the SQL query generation task, both Gemma models outperform the Mini, but not by that much. I'll show you the mistakes that they made as well. However, for the retrieval augmented generation task, Gemma 3 seems to have made some major improvements, and it's coming close to the level of quality from 4o Mini. So ignore this duration axis because Gemma 3 I'm using a different LLM provider, and because it's a new model, there was a lot of traffic today. But so there you have it. These are high-level results. And next, let's get into the details. Before we continue, I would like to ask you for a favor. As you can see, we are a very new channel with a small number of subscribers. So if you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing. It costs you nothing and it helps us grow. Also, check out our website promptjudy.com. You can sign up and create your own custom evaluations, or you can look at community evaluations for a wide variety of use cases. We have published hundreds of evaluations and are releasing more every week. If there's one thing that you take away from this video, please let it be that you should be testing your own prompts with your own data to see what works best for your use case. Prompt Judy helps you do just that. Now, back to the video. So let me start with the harmful questions detection test. If you've seen my other videos, you already know what this is. But for those of you who are new, this is a simple classification task where we give the LLM a question and add some instructions, and we expect the LLM to categorize a question as harmful or not harmful on basis of the rules that we provide. And you can look through these rules. I will include the link to the evaluation in the description of the video. This is a prompt that we actually use in production for one of our customers as a first level of defense against getting the LLM to output sensitive or controversial information. This is a very common use case in most business applications. Clearly, there is no guaranteed way to defend against every single prompt injection attack, but a prompt like this can provide you at least that first level of defense. And one of the benefits of using Prompt Judy is that you can constantly modify these instructions and add or remove additional corner case test questions and validate how your prompts are performing against your validation dataset. I did want to show you some of these questions that we have here because what we were trying to do here is come up with scenarios that might trip up the models. As you can see, we have different languages. We tried lead speak. We tried different Unicode characters. And we can clearly see that Gemma 3 has performed flawlessly in this test. It even succeeded in a question that 4o Mini failed, and it has clearly outperformed Gemma 2 in this test as well. So now let's take a look at this one. This is our named entity recognition test, and as I have covered this in previous videos, this is actually a particularly hard test. That's because a single mistake in the output JSON and you get a 0 score. In fact, even the Frontier GPT-4 and Claude 3.7 Sonnet models score, I think, the 90 or 95 on this test. So the scores that you see here for these models is actually quite respectable. However, there are some very obvious mistakes that I'm going to show you in a little bit. But first, let me show you the prompt. Like the other prompts in this video, this prompt is a variation of a prompt that we use in production for one of our customers. Basically, what we're asking the LLM to do here is to take a natural language question and extract JSON information from it. Essentially identifying first names, last names, locations, information, organization information. And as we extract these pieces of information, we have certain rules. Like, for example, we want to ignore middle names. We want to remove legal entity terms from the company because that allows us to search for the company name in the database. We ask it to correct misspellings. We ask it to preserve the original language for names, but to translate the location and the organization names to English. Because again, we want to search our database and our database stores this in English. A majority of the mistakes that Gemma is making here is in these last two requirements, as you can see. So let's take a look at the results. What's interesting is both Gemma versions make almost the same mistakes. So as you can see here, it's not translating St. Petersburg. They don't fix the Microsoft spelling here correctly. They correctly ignore the middle name here, which is the mistake that 4o Mini made. But you can see here that Gemma 3 made a mistake that Gemma 2 didn't, and then Gemma 2 made a mistake that Gemma 3 didn't. And then there's this mistake that both of them did not correct the spelling, and then there's this one that I feel very few models have gotten this right. If there's a Korean speaker in the audience, please chime in if this is a problem with the test case. And then the same thing here with the Mandarin. So if there's a Mandarin speaker in the audience, please enlighten me in the comments below, but I think this is the first name, last name swapped in the response. All right, so now is the time for the SQL query generation test. And as you can see, both Gemma models outperform GPT-4o Mini here. Let me first show you the prompt, and again, if you've seen this in my previous videos, you can jump ahead to the results section. But for those of you who haven't seen it, this is also a very common use case. You give the model a schema and a question, and we expect the model to provide an SQL statement that answers the question. We give the model a few rules. For example, we don't want it to generate data modification statements. We also let the model choose between not allowed or not possible if the question cannot be answered using the schema that you've provided it. And then we ask the model to put the SQL bit in JSON. So there are many models that will attempt to provide an explanation or some comments. We want none of that. So that said, let's look at some of the mistakes these models have made. As you can see, Gemma 3 improved over Gemma 2 because it correctly identified that you cannot answer this question because the customer birthday information does not exist in the schema. For this question, all the models got this wrong. I don't blame them because many other models have got this wrong, but the frontier models like the Claude, the O series, many of the Gemini models, DeepSeek, they've gotten this right. This question, for some reason, Gemma 2 got it right, but Gemma 3 didn't. And this question right here, almost all the models got it wrong. The mistake Gemma 3 made here is almost excusable because instead of responding with the word Wednesday, it responded with the numerical index of the day. But other than that, this is a pretty good performance for an open weights model. Now here's a test that Gemma 3 has made the most improvements. It's still not at the level of GPT-4o Mini, but there are significant improvements. And again, before I go into the results, I'm going to cover the prompt. For those of you who have already seen this, please feel free to jump ahead to the results discussion section. So, for those of you who haven't, this is a simple retrieval augmented generation prompt. We provide the model with a set of documents. These documents are markdown versions of pages from PDF documents. They describe the performance of a series of frontier models, and we ask the model to only use the data provided in the context section. We ask it to include citations. We ask it to refuse to answer questions that are not related to the context. We give some instructions to, if the question is somewhat related to the context, to provide information what's relevant. And we ask the model to respond in Markdown. And as you can see, Gemma 3 has performed reasonably well here. The only significant mistake I would say it made here is this one, where the question we asked was about GPT-3.5, but if you look at the response, it is responding as if the question was about GPT-4o. It was a trick question because there is no information about GPT 3.5 in the context. You can see that it corrected some of the mistakes that Gemma 2 had made, so it's clearly outperforming Gemma 2 on some of these, but it's not quite 4o Mini level yet. So there you have it, folks. Such an amazing time to be alive when there are such powerful open-weight models available for all of us to use. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.